Tech Grouch, and you're watching Super Tech. Good for you! Hey, welcome to the Cranky Geeks. I'm your host, John C. Dvorak. We're here with another exciting episode. And unfortunately, of course, this is our first week without our normal co-crank who retired undefeated, I might add, Sebastian Rupley. But we do have good people here. And let's begin with Dave Mathews.
Oh, we begin with the worst.
Well, it's the way this card's written. Dave Mathews, who is an inveterate inventor.
Yes.
With how many patents?
60, probably 900 now, but 60 at least.
You have 60 patents.
Yeah, granted.
Granted.
Yeah, most are worthless, but all were
Not
worthwhile.
Necessarily. Some of them you always all into the blue. You could also sell them.
That's true.
And across from me, and sitting in for Rob Enderle, is the president of the Enderle Group. Oh, no. It's actually Adam Curry, who is assiduously reading the notes that he didn't receive in time, and he will complain about that bitterly later in the show.
I don't get a title. I don't get, he has no patents.
Oh, Adam has no patents, but he is the chief domo of the No Agenda show that you can find at noagendashow.com. He's also a president of Mevio.
In the morning.
And on the spot that was once held by the ubiquitous Sebastian Rupley, we have David Smark. David Smark, who's the host of the Spark Minute and also claims to have run the beta breakers. We do have his wife in the audience, and she says he didn't do it. Apple spurred police in iPhone probe. Apple pressed local police to investigate the loss of a next-generation iPhone. Was Gizmodo in the wrong when they did the story? This is interesting. Anybody have a thought on this?
Well,
do we know for a fact now that Apple pressed the local police?
I don't know, but what I found interesting is that there is a California law since the 1800s that says if you are in possession of an item that you knowingly know belongs to somebody else, doesn't know matter how you got that item, even if it was lost or whatever, but if you know belongs to someone else, it is illegal to hold on to it and get value from it in some way.
Yeah, but you're also not allowed to covertly record people, and if it's investigative journalism, I think there's leniency.
I think what went really wrong here is the guys from Gizmodo had 3 or 4 emails back and forth with the perps, the guys that found the phone.
Good term.
And they knowingly went through the diligence. It was up to $10,000 that was going to be paid for this device, and ultimately $5,000 were paid. And on top of that, there were kickers for hits. The more hits they got with the story, the more money that Gizmodo would pay the perpetrators. So it just gets better and better.
Oh, really? They had a back-end rev share deal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good.
They got a percent of the door.
They did.
That's good, yeah.
So it'd be one thing if they said, look, we'll give you $5,000. We don't know if it's a valid product or not. But no. They had due diligence.
So they cut him in on the deal.
Yeah. It got a little deeper than just
and it was the best,
product.
the most successful post that Gizmodo's ever put up. What amazes
it must have brought in millions
of views, maybe not.
I wonder how
dollars.
many advertisers they'll lose though because of this, right? Because this is a big shot in journalistic credibility.
No, first of all, journalistic credibility and Gizmodo are not things that sort of necessarily go hand in hand.
I remember
because
the TV
says the
gone
consultant
at CES.
No, they are above board about their type of journalist behavior, though. That's the thing. They are above board. But here's what I'm amazed with: the fact that they're going after Gizmodo, saying this damaged our brand, and the fact that shareholder value went down because you released private information. What is the point of ever signing an NDA with Apple? We are all susceptible to Apple's NDA.
But Apple,
every one of us.
I don't
whether
believe that anyone should sign an NDA ever.
Okay, Mike Harrington. This is...
And Leo Laporte.
Yeah.
Doesn't sign
I've
NDA.
said this long before they were even in business doing this crap.
This is why Apple controls their messaging. They don't wait until the absolute nth hour, and everyone speculates and goes crazy. So, sure, Apple caused this debate on their own just because of their private nature of how they launch things, but still, I think Gizmodo was absolutely in the wrong.
Just one other thing.
Oh, who cares?
Just yeah, really. One other thing.
Gizmodo was
when I
in
saw
the
the phone,
wrong.
because I was interested in the phone, and that kind of got snowed under all of this, under this story. I don't like the form factor. I don't like the square thing. If that's really what it's become, they move away.
It's still
from
rounded.
that.
It's rounded.
No, it was pretty square.
No, it wasn't the whole point that it was in its
No, there
in
it
a
is,
different
right
shell.
there. There it is. It's on the screen. It's not that square. It's rounded.
But it's more.
It
It's
looks
a harder
more. It looks
edge
more
than the egg.
Nokia-esque, and honestly, I don't like it. If that's where they're going, I think that may be an interesting and maybe.
Do you think that?
wrong
I'm always of the opinion that this was just a test marketing scheme.
No,
I
don't
don't
know.
think so.
Apple wouldn't do that.
I don't think so.
The forward-facing camera, I think, is very cool. It'll completely crush AT&T's network, which I'm really excited about.
Cool.
The flash is the big thing for me. I'm really happy that they put a flash you can see right there next to the back camera.
The flash? You mean a flash? The
flash
flash is
The
there.
flash,
Not
yeah.
as in the software.
Not the flash
Not as
software. And then this is the Google phone, the Nexus One, which,
Yeah, it's
by
got
the
a-
way,
it's got a good flash.
it has a great flash, 5
See,
megapixel.
do you see him drop
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it flipped out of his hand.
Yeah,
This is what I keep
It's
telling
egg-
people, that it's slippery.
Egg-shaped. It is slippery. But now we have Android 2.2, Froyo coming out or being announced today or
Froyo?
tomorrow. That's their code name for it.
Oh.
And last time it was cupcake. Now it's frozen
Yeah,
yogurt.
this is why Apple is so good. They don't come up with lame code names like Froyo and Cupcake, Jaguar, Snow Leopard.
That does have a nice flash. We're going to get right back to this right after this message.
I'm Danica Patrick, IndyCar driver and GoDaddy girl. I know a little bit about speed, so take it from me. If you want a fast way to make a name for yourself on the internet, GoDaddy has everything you need. GoDaddy got me online fast, and they can do the same for you. .com names as low as $1.99. When you have something to say it at GoDaddy.com.
Welcome back to the Cranky Geeks. With regard to that ad you just saw, don't forget the domain names with GoDaddy.com are up to 70% less than the competition. You can use the code CRANK, C-R-A-N-K, and get another 10% off. Some restrictions apply, but don't some restrictions apply to everything in life? So it's redundant. HTML5 unfit for web TV, says Hulu, and that story goes along with this story, which says Adobe hearts Apple. So Adobe is like, promoting Flash, and Apple doesn't want to use Flash on its devices, and they want to go to HTML5. But meanwhile, Hulu says that HTML5 sucks.
I'll tell you why Hulu is saying that. The issue with HTML5 is none of the video pre-roll ad networks have figured out really how to integrate this. So Mevio is HTML5, H.264 compatible, but there's no way to do pre-roll ads. That's why they're saying it sucks. It's actually it's pretty cool. It's a reasonably open technology or a standard, but there's no.
How long will it take? How long will it take for some smart guy to say, "Hey, I got the pre-rolls"?
Well,
code.
there's companies like Freewheel who actually charge for their service, and they're the ones that are. I mean, there's a lot of standards already. VAST, which is the video advertising standard. So when someone hits a page, there's do I have an ad at what CPM? Do I play this one from this network or that one from that one? There's a whole infrastructure which has been built up around a Flash-based infrastructure for many years, and so someone's going to have to drive that. And if Hulu is saying no, that's very interesting because Hulu, of course, is one of the big players in pre-roll advertising. So it would take a Hulu to say HTML5 is the way to go. They're not, so maybe there's something behind that. I don't know.
Yes, display is, like you said, display is not the problem. It's everything in the back end.
Yeah.
And the advertisers, I mean, that's bottom line. If there's no way to get the money distributed, then forget it. It's not going to happen.
So where does Apple sit in all this? They want to just do advertising.
But Apple's doing HTML5 on the iPad. They're not going to have Flash. The big problem that I see with HTML5 is there's no hardware acceleration. So you try and play media within HTML5, and your processor just tanks. There's no acceleration. And there's been a lot of optimization. Even on the Nexus phone, there's Flash 10.1 hardware support within. So there's no doubt that DRM will come under HTML5. It's just in the land of the geeks right now.
Now, what you were saying that there's no optimization for HTML5 or for Flash?
For the media playback.
On Flash Media Playback?
No. Flash
Oh,
Media
there's the
Playback
Flash.
has hardware optimization. Even with the NVIDIA chipsets,
Yeah, okay.
that you can optimize
Oh, this is so
Flash.
obvious now. It's obvious. Adobe and Apple have some deal on the back end. We're going to have some kind of amazing acceleration in Apple products. Can they buy Adobe, John? I mean, is that possible? Could Apple buy Adobe?
Yeah, maybe. They could merge. but I don't
Why
think-
else would they being like, I heart you? Isn't that what you do before the big...
It's truly a love-hate relationship, and it's parents
all good
fighting.
marriages.
I'm not buying
Parents
that one.
fighting. Kids hate to watch their parents fight because they love both of them, and they just want to stop the whole thing.
But the only reason why Adobe put these big campaigns out is the developers that create, what is it, CS5, CS6
Right.
they're up to now?
CS5.
And that's what, Content Suite version 5?
Creative Suite.
Creative Suite, okay. So all of these creators have to develop, whatever it is, not just Flash, it's all the other things. And the Adobe Suite, I'm no designer, but what is it, 5 or 6 different applications?
There's lots.
In-
Illustrator.
there's like 14 or more.
Photoshop.
There's tons.
Photoshop. There's a whole slew of stuff.
So yeah, they want the creators of this content. Apple, couldn't care less about these ads in the newspaper. Steve Jobs doesn't get those ads on his iPad. He has a filter for them. So he has a proxy server. Nothing from Adobe will ever hit his screen. But this is for the developers. That I heart was to get the
Well,
developers.
what's so funny is both sides are arguing which one's more open, yet they're both closed software companies. Neither one is an open source company, and yet they're both arguing about the need to have open standards, which they aren't.
It is interesting, though, that when it comes to Flash, the only thing anyone talks about is video playback and not about the entire interactive
And all the
Because your
crap
average
that when you
person
go on a
doesn't know
web
what you're
page
going through.
and a big old ad comes floating right across
Yeah.
where you're trying to read, and then you look and they keep moving the close button. It's
Doesn't
like,
JavaScript do that too?
where do
though?
you close this thing? And you go, oh, there it is in small, fine print.
can-
Have you
It's
ever had
like
one of those?
launch
By the
the
way, those
page.
floating ads appear over your articles on PC Magazine.
I would bitch about it if I were you.
I'm doing it right here on your show.
I got nothing to do
By the way,
with it.
I had one of them flip out on me the other day. As I was reading your article. The ad was like having a seizure on the screen.
Yeah, I don't like these things. I don't know how effective they are, but I
Those
don't
things
like
are how you get paid, so you better like them somewhere.
I don't know if that's really the fine. I don't know how much money comes from where. That's the problem. If someone would tell me that, I'd be pushing the things. But as far as I know, it's like just an annoyance. I mean, you know what? Another thing I run into and PC Mag does this, and a lot of people do, and I did it for a while on the blog, and I just said forget it. And which is those crazy little underline hot.
Oh, I hate those.
Now,
Those are
the problem with
annoying.
those is that they've gone to the next generation, which is that usually you'd have to click on them
Right.
to
Oh,
get.
now it's
they
mouse over.
they mouse
Yeah.
over and you get this
Expand
big thing.
and blow up the page. Yeah, you can't see the print underneath. It's bad. It's
quite annoying.
There's nowhere to park your mouse either.
And here's the
all
I
over
don't
the
think, and I don't think they make hardly anything from those because I I ran them for about 6 months on the blog to just test for what kind of numbers you get. You get nothing. You get like a check for 35 cents.
So the annoyance factor far outweighs the actual revenue that you're generating from it. So dump them.
I did.
No,
But
they're on your articles.
I have nothing.
Don't they-
hey,
have
they pay me
control
to
over
work
that.
there.
Okay, so there you go.
I don't own the place. If I owned the place, I probably would dump them. All right, that's enough of that, don't you think?
Yes.
What is Dvorak doing now? Oh, he's trashing us. Oh, well, that's just him. The computer is a communications disease. Talking about trashing things, this is a column I wrote. Asserted in a recent column that these days the machines are used more often to interact than to calculate. This has caused a dislocation in society that may take years or decades, I say, to settle. It's like when a disease vector is introduced into a population with zero immunity, and that's what's happened with all these social networks and everything, and we don't seem to have any way of controlling ourselves. And so you have people on Facebook, oh my God, my friend just said something. Oh, look at somebody's tweeting me. Oh, I got to say something to them.
So this goes back way before social networks, when the front porch was removed from the entire side of a house. Remember in Atlanta, you'd have houses that would have porches that wrapped all the way around them. In Florida, now front porches are no more than a 4x2 pad.
With a place to put your umbrella.
Yep.
That's about it.
And that's it. And that is, it's not these social networks, which are all the tools of the devil. Mark my word.
I think so.
Well, part of what is happening, and anyone who has kids, you've got one on the way.
Very soon.
You are excluded. Well,
Not that I
your
know.
girlfriends are kids.
We don't
basically.
know.
Shake your tie.
But John and I know It's
Only
like
mentally.
drugs, and I think it affects people's, and not just kids, obviously, but you see it in kids so well. It affects your neurotransmitters the same way. It's just like these quick hits of, I got something, ooh, I got something, ooh, and then you just have to keep going back because it's exciting. When electronic mail first came out, like, I got mail, AOL, you've got mail. I mean, this was exciting. So this is just to the nth degree, and it's addictive. It's an actual physical addiction.
These little moments that validate your worth, and it's like this drip that you keep going to each time. No, we understand it,
But if I
and
received
we're all prey to it. How many times in a day do you check your traffic for Mevio for your
Zero.
shows? Zero. You don't check it multiple
No,
times
I have
a day?
people for that.
You have people, but then they would tell you that.
He asked them. He's got a speed dial.
But of course, if I'd received the information on time, I would have read your article, so I really can't comment on it. But it sounds like another,
I knew
another
this was
puff
coming.
piece to put underlined links in.
It is a puff piece.
It's not a puff piece at all. It's a very thoughtful piece.
That was the piece that caused my computer to have a seizure.
I think another problem on this is.
This is a good piece. You should read. It's in PCMag.com.
Did you talk about how the water cooler went away? Because there's so many consultants that work out of our houses. I know we're all guilty of that at this table. And you don't have social interaction around the water cooler anymore. So, you really clamor for your community on Twitter and your friends on Facebook. So those are the only social interactions you have unless you go down the street to the coffee
But
shop.
I don't think it's
What if I don't want to be bothered? I don't want to be bothered. Screw.
But don't you
I
feel
don't
that
need
you're
social interaction.
Don't you feel you're more social today than say 15 years
I
ago?
feel like I'm more social
Yeah,
with
me
people
too.
that I don't
You're
want
not
to be social
really.
with.
Yeah, there you go. You got more people bugging you.
That's right.
That's true.
But then, Dave and I live in LA, and we communicate more on Twitter than anything. And
Isn't that funny? You have to come to San Francisco to say each other face to face.
There
That
you
is
go.
pathetic.
Well, the traffic's so bad. He just lives a few blocks away from me, and I can't get there
hours.
because I can't cut through the smog or get up the hill.
Yeah, that's the way it goes in LA. Don't move there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this. I'm John C. Dvorak, and I want to tell you about Carbonite, which is a product I use to do online backup. I finally given up on buying those little disk drives. And then I noticed my wife lost a hard disk recently, and she refuses to back up. So I got her an account, and now I don't have to worry so much. Carbonite's $55 a year, which is actually cheaper than a hard drive. And if you use the code word CRANK, C-R-A-N-K, you can get a 15-day free trial. And if you decide to buy it, you'll get 2 months free. Check it out. Carbonite. Back it up, get it back. Welcome back to the Cranky Geeks. So here's an interesting story. Google Street View snooped for personal data. Google says that Street View cars have been collecting information. If you didn't know this story, it's been all over the place. They're driving around, since they're taking pictures of people like whoever that is, and they're also collecting Wi-Fi data. So they're essentially doing what used to be called war driving.
But to the next level. So war driving is one thing, and there's a whole, Skyhook Wireless, which makes the iPhone and the Google Maps work on the original iPhone, and now if you don't have a good GPS coverage, it makes Maps work. War driving is okay. What Google did is looked at not only the access point and the GPS, where that access point was, but they also looked into the packets. They looked into the data. So if you were
really?
surfing an unencrypted site, they grabbed a chunk of however much data that they could get as they drove by your house. Now, if you have your router by the window, they could get 200 feet of data, which could be a few K or whatever.
You know what's next? I know what's coming next. These routers will be transmitting RFID from your clothes into the router into Google.
So what is that going to do?
That way they can shoot you through the walls with a high-powered rifle.
Do you know what happened in Germany? Germany has now outlawed open Wi-Fi
Access
networks.
points, right.
Access
That's
points.
ridiculous.
No, it's because
What
of
if
this
you-
nonsense.
What if you want it to be open?
No, like at a cafe, you probably want to know. But you can have a fine of something like about $160 if you have an open Wi-Fi network, and it's all a result of
But they're
this.
not. No, Stockholm had that as well. Amsterdam, I love because the Wi-Fi is wide open, so you can go over there and get lost in the streets and use this technology, the Skyhook, to find your way around without having to pay a carrier fee. So there are some countries that are more lax on this, but I think this is really, really bad. Google, they completely overstepped their bounds, and it was because of a rogue engineer that
always
worked
that.
on the
It's always a
project.
rogue engineer.
Yeah,
right?
they can't take full blame for it. Here's a. Have you
What?
ever,
What? Of course they can take full
No,
blame for
no.
it.
Here's what I love. You ever interview a Google employee and you try to just get them to tell you, hey, so what's your side of the story on this issue? What they'll do is they'll say, let's go look at the blog post. And what they'll do is they'll read the blog post of their official statement on it, and they'll say, "Oh, well, this is what they're saying." And they'll, no, I don't. I read the blog post too. They won't tell you their own sort of viewpoint on it. They'll read the blog post.
But they're very jocular in their inability to answer questions.
Why should they? Why should they tell you?
Yeah.
Me specifically?
Anybody.
Well, let's finish up your complaint.
Culture.
No, Google's the Borg on this one. They're gonna. I don't know.
Borg?
Yeah, the Borg. They are Skynet. They are collecting way, way, way beyond what they should have with this. This is bad. You know, you can look at an idea of a wireless network, combine that with GPS. That's been going on for years with.
I thought it was just the MAC address that they were doing.
No. They
actually got-
grab
No, it's-
packets.
Do they
over
grab
there.
the MAC address?
No. Their
That's
plan
it.
was only to capture the SSID and the MAC address. That's it,
and associate it with GPS.
and associate with GPS. But then they just started gathering everything, and I don't see how do you accidentally gather everything?
No, you don't. This is like, you know, like.
Hey, this is a good place to stop, Bill. Well, you get some coffee. We got some good stuff coming in here. Look at load it up.
I think where the privacy goes in your own home, if you look at paparazzi, you can take a picture of anyone doing anything, but if someone is in their home behind the window, you cannot publish that picture. So I think that this is really on par with that. That data was within my walls.
You sent it out the wall.
Yeah, but my image is transmitting outside the window, even if I'm inside. So that I don't think that.
That's a good point.
I think there's a lawsuit there. Like, who has time for that? Who gives a crap?
And how do they know which trucks have
What are they
this?
going to do with that, Dave?
Yeah.
What are they going to do with
With
it?
that
Yeah,
data,
what is
yeah.
the point?
That's a great
Were they
question.
just doing it because there's a little
No, I
nerdy
think-
guy collecting it?
Exactly.
I'm getting a lot of information.
I got bits.
So I think it's because he could, right? So engineers, they try and exploit. I'm working on an art project where when we're talking about how internet TV is one-to-one and broadcast is to everyone. So this art project I'm collaborating on, when you're near the project, when you're surfing the web, we're collecting all the images that you're surfing and we're broadcasting them into the group around this art piece. But we're going to tell people, please surf to your favorite websites, no matter what it is, and we'll broadcast that for everyone.
I got some sites I'll
So
be
I
going
bet.
to.
I can't wait for you to have you at the opening for this one.
I'll bring the police.
But it's the same idea, right? We're hacking the packets, we're sniffing them, and then we're rebuilding the packets into the images. So, no doubt any geek who's worth his salt can do this, but for Google to do it, who knows what they have?
Everyone boycott Google now.
That's right.
No, but the thing is that data got transmitted to third parties, didn't it? Now Google has to go to the third parties and ask them to start
What
racing
third
the data.
parties and
I don't
why?
know. That's all they said is third parties, and we're working with third parties to remove this data.
Yeah,
So
the
this is-
NSA. No, that's one of their partners. The NSA. They have a partnership with the NSA.
So that's what's a little creepy. It's like,
Well, maybe
well, it's
they-
now it's out. Like, who knows where it is?
Well, maybe that's what they were doing in Germany. They may have been actually collecting data for the government, our government, by driving around. We don't know. Maybe they're patriots in this whole thing.
Have you ever seen one of those cars? It's not just vans.
They're unbelievable. All the gear that's
Yeah,
on
It
this
really
car,
is.
they're-
But they look unstable. I saw one on the freeway. I was like, I just want to hit him and see. if
No,
he'll
you want to
topple over.
run them off the road to see what happens.
Now that's a plan.
Well, I don't advise it, but it would be kind of fun. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back right after this. I'm John C. Dvorak, and this is a look at Squarespace. Today I'm going to show you an interesting trick you can do. I don't think any other websites actually do this. First, we logged into the No Agenda website, a new site we created for our show, No Agenda, and hit Website Management. Then you go over here to Data and Media, and then down to Data Snapshots. With Data Snapshots, you can create a snapshot of the entire site and save it to a file, or you can just take a partial snapshot, which would be just kind of the layout. So in this case, I'm going to hit Create Snapshot, and it's going to ask me if I want a text snapshot or a full snapshot. By clicking this and then hitting Q the snapshot, it will now generate a snapshot. The entire website will be copied, and then you'll get an email telling you where the file is located, and you can always recreate this is a way of backing up that's unlike any other way I've seen. I'm John C. Dvorak, and that's been a look at Squarespace. Welcome back to the Cranky Geeks. I'm your host, John C. Dvorak, as you well know.
Do the NPD story.
Let's do this story. 65,000 Android phones shipped daily.
I debunked this one actually.
You debunked the story.
I did.
We have a debunker. Debunker alert.
So the headline is passes iPhone. was kind of
Sales.
in sales, kind of the headline.
Yeah, I saw that
And
too.
Ted Leonsis posted this on his Ted's Take blog. You know, he's a board member.
Blogger.
So I look at what he's writing, and I went to this NPD because I think, like you, John, I'm kind of skeptical about these types of marketing research companies. The reason why is because is it Verizon or Sprint, I guess, who has the Nexus One phones or
Droid. Well, okay.
the Droid.
Droid, yeah. Nexus One doesn't count.
But they were doing a 2-for-1 promotion.
That's right.
That's Verizon, I believe.
Verizon. So when you do a 2-for-1 promotion, that's how you propagate sales.
Sales go up.
Which
Yes.
is the same thing
Yeah.
Verizon did with the BlackBerry touchscreen, the
Exactly
Storm.
the same.
And which #1 phone now.
Right.
And everyone hated the Storm, and the Storm was only successful.
They were
when
actually
Super
giving
won.
them away in San Francisco. This big promotion. They created one of these sort of those telephone booth like vacuum chambers. If you grabbed enough bills, they'd give you a free Storm.
Nice.
So, but it's kind
And if you didn't grab enough bills, they give you 2.
it's kind of deceptive, you know. It's like, oh, look, Android is on the rise, it's surpassing iPhone, and they paid this company.
I have been skeptical about the fact that they're passing iPhone.
Yeah, but think
I
about
don't know,
it.
how many people have you seen with an Android phone? How many people have you
But
seen with an
this
iPhone?
one I didn't know. There are 34 different Android models.
That's the one.
thing that shocked me. I didn't realize there were that many models.
Across all networks, right?
And
And they're-
it's 29 countries. Yeah.
And I will say that the new Sprint Evo, which actually, and I'll just disclose, we're doing a big promotion for them, I think, in June. But this thing is sexy. I think it will take some buzz off of the iPhone. It's got like a 4-inch screen.
Yeah.
It's got a forward front.
Yeah.
They did what Palm should have done. Everything the iPhone doesn't do. Tethering. You can get a 4G tethering option. Video conferencing. And you know, a big screen.
8-megapixel camera.
Yeah,
Now, the caveat
it's
is you have to
sexy,
pay
it's
for
sexy.
each of these. 4G is an extra $10, tethering an extra whatever bucks. So
$30, I think, for
Yeah.
all data, including tethering. But that's sexy.
It's not bad.
this is considering that voice traffic is at a quarter of what it was last year and rapidly falling.
Yeah.
The carriers are really going to have to amp up this data, and I think Sprint's really aggressive, partnering with Clear to do the 4G stuff. And now finally, Sprint will be able to have a voice data simultaneous network, which
Of course, yeah, the one thing I think they're making a mistake is they're rolling out this big 4G. It's not in New York, not in LA, and not in San Francisco, which is exactly where people grouse about this stuff, that it's not rolled out. I mean,
But
that
Oregon-
is-
That's a huge mistake.
Oregon and
I
Dallas.
don't get it.
though.
I don't get it. You know, in standard marketing philosophy, you always test the biggest, most dominant, the best market first, because if you fail there, then you know you're through, you're done.
No, but
You don't
what
start
about testing
testing
in-
third and fourth tier markets. Well, it worked.
What
and then you
about
get to the big one.
entertainment industry testing in Peoria? That whole
Well,
model.
but that's a statistical test because they've determined places like Peoria and other places are a perfect cross section of the country. That's a different kind of test. Portland, Oregon is definitely not a cross section of anything.
Right, but I think that so there's geographical issues with those. You have fewer people, more more distance to go, so you don't have the density issues. They have so many issues with cell tower density in the big cities. If they would have launched a 4G network here and it would have fallen flat because of the number of users per tower, they would have gotten so much backlash. The bloggers, the Twitters, all the social media experts would have said.
So what
"It
you're
sucks."
saying, this isn't a test marketing scheme. This is an engineering
plan.
Yeah.
an engineering thing
doubt.
just to test to see if the damn thing works.
That's right. Because
Interesting.
it's all brand new technology. And LTE will see the same thing. You know, WiMAX has had a couple year worth of development. LTE, the 700 megahertz auctions we had a couple years ago, those are going through their trials as well.
Okay, well that makes sense.
You know, that's just being.
That's why we have Dave Mathews on the show
Yeah,
every so
no,
often,
that-
because he
that's-
actually-
he tells
very
us
good
about
analysis.
how many towers have to be built.
yes,
right.
the tower
And
man.
cell reuse maps, they're just brilliant. If you guys want to come over and we'll talk about cell
Cool.
frequency reuse.
Let's do that, Dave.
Yes, you make the tea.
Close with the dullest.
Okay. Well, actually, the dullest story, if you want to close with that, is your story.
You don't know. Let's
Come
not
on,
even do
rock
it.
it out.
I just there was a very interesting story where Viacom has been getting a lot of backlash with regards to pulling videos down and
From YouTube.
from YouTube, yes. And a lot of times it is legit that people are posting things that are owned by Viacom and up on YouTube and legit, but they are having a bunch of cases where things are being pulled down that they shouldn't be legit. And there was a big case.
That's never happened before?
No, I know that's never. But there was a big case, and everyone got very upset about it. TechDirt reported on this, where someone actually videotaped on their own the shooting of the Transformers film. Transformers being made by Paramount, Paramount owned by Viacom, and then they pulled the video down. Boom. And
Wow.
it's been down for quite some time. But I found out, but only privately, this has not been publicly expressed, that
What
they
about the
are trying to
shooting
get
of
the
the
video
film?
back up. But this is not going
Who
to get any
cares?
press whatsoever.
What do
Of
you
course
mean
not,
the
because who wants to see this video? It sounds boring.
What do you mean the shooting of the film?
The-
on the set?
It was, no, out on
An
the
open
streets,
set.
an open
Street.
set on the
Some
street.
guy took a
They're
movie
shooting.
of somebody.
Yeah, but did this guy pay YouTube
No,
to
he
keep
didn't
his
pay.
stuff running?
No, it's just anybody. It's out in the street. It's public. They
that's
can
not
shoot
my
the video.
point.
of it.
Yeah, this is a bad story.
It's like who owns the
It's
servers
boring.
of YouTube?
Nah, it's
YouTube.
beside
They can
the
do whatever
point.
they
If
Who
want.
someone
cares?
is, it's not a closed set. It was open.
You're missing my point.
Well, I think we're both missing all the points because there is no point to be had.
Film at 11.
The only point we've got is that we have to close today's show. I'm John C. Dvorak. You've been watching Cranky Geeks. See you again next week.